video for you. I love the story grid. I use the story grid a ton. I've used it to edit, and today I'm going to show you how I put it into practice. So I used the story grid to edit a scene that I wrote in high school. I never developed this story into a full novel or novella. I started it. I'm considering going back to it at some point with a big change on what the story is about. You will see the original draft of the story side by side with the second draft of the story. Now, that is not quite true. It actually went through version 1 to version 5, and what you see here is version 5. So this has actually gone through like 5 rounds of edits to change it up. I don't think it's perfect yet. There can always be improvements. There are some parts I read and I'm like, ugh, why did I do that? That's awful. But I think it's a really good example, and I try to show where I use the story grid to edit the scenes. The story grid says that every scene should have, just like every story, an inciting incident, progressive complications, crisis, climax, and resolution. So the main thing that I did in this scene that I changed was I put in an inciting incident, progressive complication, crisis, climax, and resolution. If you read the annotated version, I'm here and I'm like, I point at the first scene and I'm like, where is the inciting incident? Like, you don't know where it is in the first scene. In the second scene, I think the inciting incident is very clear. That's good. The crisis is less clear, but it was non-existent completely in the first one, so hey. Okay, another problem that I had in the second draft was I talked about way too many characters way too soon. We don't even care about the characters in the scene right now, and I'm like, throwing out all of these names because I just loved the characters that I'd come up with for this story. I gave away all my cards too early, so one thing that the story grid always talks about is using backstory as ammunition, or exposition as ammunition, giving the information that a reader needs to get eventually at exactly the right moment that it changes the story and it works as a revelation or a turning point. In my first one, in the first 300 words or so, I get out the fact that they're pirates, and I blot out the fact that Izzy is a mother, single mom of a little kid. In the second draft, the whole pirate thing, it's hinted at throughout the scene, but we don't say it outright until the very last line. And then the mother thing comes in scene 2 or 3 as another really cool revelation. The other really big problem with the first draft, which I fixed in the second, was that I was trying to do way too many things in one scene. So in this scene, they're kidnapping William, who's a hostage. This is not the inciting incident of the story. It's the inciting incident of the scene. It's not the inciting incident of the story because right now Izzy's like, yeah, we're kidnapping this dude. Like, we do that all the time. This is super normal to her. Izzy is the main character. The inciting incident of the story is when one of the first mate to the captain ditches and goes away, because that creates an opening for a performance genre story to take place, which is going to involve Mr. Hostage, because if you know me, I hate romances that are only just romances, so that is not what this story is. There are other things going on besides the romance, which, yeah, spoiler alert, if you read books though, you would basically know that by reading the second sentence of this book, so yeah. It's not even a book, it's a scene. Anyways, in the first draft, I tried to put everything in it. They were capturing William, I had introducing all the characters, and I had the inciting incident of the overall story where the first mate leaves. In the second draft, the whole thing is focused on the kidnapping. So we actually have a chance to build up a little bit of tension and a little bit of suspense between Izzy and William before there's a turning point. The tables turn, it looks like William's getting the upper hand, and then whoop, no, he's not. We have an actual turning point, and then that leads to the declaration that they're pirates. In later scenes, I deal with the first mate leaving, the inciting incident of the overall story, the fact that there's, a history between all these characters and they're unique and strange, that kind of thing. But in the first scene, I really focus on one bit of tension. You will see that there's other characters around, especially at the end of the scene. I have a whole bunch of people come in. I think that it works though, because I'm not mentioning them at the beginning, I'm mentioning them at the end, after the turning point, when we kind of have the break in tension. That's sort of a discussion of these two scenes that I have here. How I got from one to the other, I honestly don't really know. I just sat down and I was like, okay, this doesn't work. How do I fix it? I need an inciting incident, progressive complications, crisis, climax, and resolution. And I said, okay, what do I want the resolution to be? What do I want the inciting incident to be? And then I said, okay, progressive complications, well, it should all revolve around this kidnapping. This is a big event. The actual event of the kidnapping should happen in more than 300 words. It should be the focus of this scene. And so then I went through and rewrote and rewrote and rewrote until I felt like those 5 elements, as well as the turning point, were super duper clear. All right, that brings me to the end. Please let me know in the comments, did you find this helpful? Have you used the story grid? How do you edit your scenes? It's been great chatting to you. See you next time.